By the way, if anybody has questions about COP 2360 or C# 2 and you're in both of my classes and got the email, I have no problems with bringing up the C# 2 course. It's a fairly small number of members currently, 4. So we can do about anything you want in terms of the Zoom meeting. So, okay, I'm going to go ahead and start just to kind of get the ball rolling. And again, please take a look at the chat window. And the chat window has a yes, no, go slower, go faster, and so on. But I do keep an eye on that to see if I need to stop or hold or wait for somebody to ask a question. Thought there was a like hold your hand up flag, but I don't see it. That may be Microsoft Teams. Oh no, okay, there's a clap. Don't do that one, please. I like, dislike, away. Yeah, what's interesting is there is no raise my hand. So anyways, if you want to just chat in the window real quick, if you want me to stop or you have a question, I'll shut up and let you ask. But ASP.NET is actually a conglomeration of multiple technologies, and there are many ways to execute ASP.NET. In fact, this book is a book that is well, hang on, I apologize. Yeah, and it's backwards, of course. It is actually recommended in the course because it goes over all the different types of technologies, but it doesn't do a deep dive, nor does it show you how to implement any of the ASP.NET technologies. It's just more of a technical reference of how you can create web API, what Razor is. As a matter of fact, there's now a Razor backend. They've got what we're doing, which is ASP.NET with Entity Framework and MVC. And then just raw ASP.NET is also discussed in this book. So let me go over the different components of what we're going to be covering in this class. First and foremost, it is a ASP.NET C# programming language, and ASP.NET means that it's running generally on IIS, or Internet Information Server, which is a web server that Microsoft provides. It does work on Linux, it does work on Mac, and it does work on obviously a Windows platform. Works very, very well. There are 2 different client language runtimes, which are what you're familiar with, the .NET Framework 4.7 or 4.8, and the .NET Core, which has been through 3 iterations now, 1, 2, and then 3. And Core is the one that allows you to run this in Linux. I actually have ran through and created the content to run this on .NET Core, so you can actually create the application in Linux, but there are so many problems with it. I'm pulling it out of the course and waiting another semester or 2 before that can be recommended. And in fact, Microsoft is eliminating .NET Core and integrating it with the next version of .NET Framework. I think 4.9 or 5.0. Any questions about that? No? Oh, quite, okay. Next, we have 2 things that you may have heard of, but may not be familiar with because it's never been presented in any prior class. The first is Entity Framework. Because we're working with SQL Server, and not everyone has had the SQL Server experience or knowledge level, we actually have something instead called an ORM, or Object Relational Mapping. It's a technology that allows you to create classes that represent your data in C#, and then those classes are dynamically converted on the fly and updated to tables, constraints, columns, and other properties inside of a SQL Server database, or any database for that matter, where you have a compatible entity framework provider. SQL clearly is the only one that I've found that works 100%. All the other ones kind of are flaky. So we're going to use the entity framework to create classes to represent our data in the class, in the SQL Server database. The model view controller, hang on, I may show you my application. I want to discuss it first, and then I'll open up an example. But a model view controller basically takes three components of an application development environment and separates them. So multiple teams can, well, there's multiple reasons, right? One is for multiple members of different teams to work on the solution independently. You might have the view developers, graphic designers, again, the front end developers that are running what they call XAML. And they are doing all the work on the front end and creating hooks that you guys, not you guys, but the developers on the back end would actually pass information to that front end, just like a conduit, right? So you're going to create that in this ASP.NET course. The backend code, I'm sorry, model, view, and controller. The view obviously is the view. The controller is how, when somebody accesses your web page, what they intend to do on that web page. Are they updating data? Are they wanting just a display of data? What kind of data do they want to display, and that type of thing? And then the controller, I'm sorry, the model is actually the databases. That would be the how we model the columns, rows, and table in SQL Server. Does that kind of make sense? I'm going to show you real quick. Hey, I got a thumbs up. Yay. Okay, can somebody confirm whether they can see my application now?
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay, beautiful. Thank you, Barbara. This is week one completed. I'll be honest, I just opened it. I haven't opened it since last semester, so I'm just going to run it one time, see if it works. If it doesn't, I'm just going to show you a breakdown of our Solution Explorer. I know you can't see what I'm seeing right this second, so give me 1 minute. Yep, works perfectly. Okay, over here on the right-hand side under your Solution Explorer, you're actually going to see your model data, your view data, and your controller data. And you're going to actually, this is your MVC components of developing your ASP.NET course. Simply, this is going to be your views. And in views, you can, one of the requirements of this course is that you actually customize the content so that you make it look like your university. Or I have had some students that actually have ripped out the university component and modeled it after something they were interested in developing and maintaining a create, read, update, delete application. In fact, I have some students that are in the internship, and they'll actually use this course as their internship project. And I will support that. And I'm okay if you want to go that route. Just understand it's going to be a lot more work on your part. Is anybody doing the internship?
I am right now.
Jenna? Okay, good. What's your, are you working for someone, or are you doing your own custom design?
I'm working for somebody, but they don't know like they're all don't even know how to turn on their computers. Like it's a great gig for me, but it's definitely not a great learning opportunity for me.
Well, and maybe you could actually take something they need and implement this in that company and be a rock star for them, possibly. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, honestly, I think that it might work out pretty well like that. This is they wanted me to make them like a little customer portal, and this kind of seems right up that alley.
Yeah, exactly. And what's cool is and I haven't talked about this yet, but in week 5 or 6, we're actually taking this application you're going to build, which is basically a university that keeps track of faculty and students and grades and courses. And we're going to put it out on Azure, the cloud, Azure. So if you go to I haven't been here in a while, but www.shanehamilton.com, you can actually see that I actually put this course project on that domain. And you could do the same. So if you had a customized domain, you can actually create your own website and host it on Azure for free, at least for 1 year, being a student at St. Pete College, and use this project to push it out. Okay, so anyways, but these are your views. There are things I'm going to ask you to change. And again, there's a little bit of information here, but you can actually go in and make changes. I forgot I did that. Interesting. I have a friend that works with Brian Johnson, and I guess that's appropriate since they aren't they doing a concert soon? By the way, he's the lead singer for AC/DC. Brian Johnson, I think is the name. But anyways, I want you to go in here and customize it, right? By the way, I'm showing my age with AC/DC, and I understand that. If we go into models, you'll actually see 3 models here, and this is your entity framework. This is what's, you're not going to have to create SQL code to create your tables and your columns. That's actually defined here. And this is actually defining basically a constraint that would define that only these 3 or 5 grades can exist within this particular column of data inside the SQL Server database. We're not going to go into or do a deep dive on entity framework. That in itself could be 2 or 3 courses, but you can actually read up the basics. We're not using anything advanced or complicated in the course. So those are your models. And then finally, controllers. The controllers, this is the one that's a little more complicated. So we're going to use what they call scaffolding. That's going to go ahead and build the views automatically for create, read, update, and delete based on our models. So we'll create a model, we'll scaffold that model, and in scaffolding that model, we're going to actually create all these different, hang on, I don't know if I created the views for it yet. Yeah, there's a student view. So all of these are created automatically. The index is just a basic view. Delete, obviously, is to delete one, create, and so on. Edit one is where you can go ahead and edit it and update it. All of those views are created for you automatically. And we are going to customize those views as well as we go through the course. But all of those views are scaffolded. In other words, they're created automatically based upon your models. And this is a big one. Let me find it real quick. Hang on. Your Bootstrap. Depending on the version of the Bootstrap you have, it will create a different design for all of your pages that it creates automatically during scaffolding. So you'll see in my class, different students' web pages will look different because they have a different Bootstrap when they created or ran their scaffold for the given model, right? Does that make sense? Yes. Okay, thank you. If it doesn't quite follow, I'll give you an example. The drop-down menus to select student or faculty or whatever will, depending on the scaffold and the examples that I provide, they will actually show up and they'll say faculty and you can click on this big button. Depending on your Bootstrap, all of that may be collapsed and you have to actually click on a central button to open up that menu and then click on the menu called faculty at that point. So that's what happens with different Bootstraps. It's kind of frustrating, actually. And I think that's basically it. I know you guys are in week 1 and all of this doesn't really compute yet or may not compute yet. I will be monitoring and hand-holding this course very, very closely. I'll keep an eye on the emails. I'll try to be responsive to the emails. I'll ask that if you have a problem, send me your entire project, upload it to OneDrive, and then send me a link. I'll open it, make sure you provide detailed question or questions, preferably fewer questions is easier for me to solve at one time. I will go through and I'll do my best to solve your problem and let you know what I did to solve the problem. I will also let you know in some cases, if I spend 2 or 3 hours on it and I can't fix it, I can give you an opportunity to redo it. In other words, like if you're in week 3 and week 2 worked perfectly for you, but week 3 just totally got messed up, I'll make a recommendation to go back to week 2, or I'll give you a version of week 2 in the event that your week 2 may be flawed as well. And then you can go ahead and reattempt week 3. If you make a mistake or a typo, it will cascade. So like if you make a change, if you do something wrong in the model and then scaffold, and then it becomes part of your views, you can't fix it. Everything has to be you have to literally start over, right? And just go back and do everything from the beginning. So just keep that in mind as well. Hang on, let me see if I got a chat. I do. I apologize, I'm not reading the chats. By the way, that is a very, very common problem. In fact, there was a bug in earlier versions of ASP.NET and the entity framework where it would automatically add the S and break everything. So be very careful about plural and non-plural. Sometimes it's going to ask you to type in a plurality of the student, and sometimes it will not. And if you type the wrong thing, it will totally gum up the system, and it won't make any sense because you'll have student and students both, but you're only allowed to have one identifier named student or students, and nothing will work. It just goes crazy. By the way, I was answering that question regarding what Jenna said. I do have quite a few people that have already submitted their assignment for this week, which is actually quite surprising because it's an intimidating process and sometimes difficult to get started. So I think that's it for right now. I'm going to have more Zoom meetings, and I will give you a heads up earlier. I may do one at like 5 or 6 in the evening, just so that maybe even 7, so that students have the opportunity to get home from work if they're working. But again, just know that we're going to get it taken care of. When you get frustrated, don't worry. My success rate in this course is extremely high. And I think it's largely because I love teaching this particular course especially, and I'm willing to spend way more hours than any sane person would be willing to do to get all my students successful, right? And you will also feel great about the fact that you have a full-blown create, read, update, delete application running on an MVC, Entity Framework, ASP.NET, IIS, and SQL Server. That's a lot. Posted onto Azure Cloud Services. And it's one of the few opportunities you get to actually learn cloud in any of our classes. Okay, so anyways, that was basically it. I just wanted a quick short meeting, give everybody an opportunity to ask questions and kind of get a feel for what I'm expecting in the course. I will be opening up every single project, compiling and running every single one from every single student every single week. And it will take 15 to 30 hours just to grade each week. And I know that seems hard to believe, but it does. So I will be grading generally on Thursday and Friday. I hope I've been able to give you some insight. If you have any questions, ask. Otherwise, I'm going to end the meeting. Made a quick one, 20 minutes. You are welcome, Ava. By the way, you guys will have more questions as we get further into this because you will actually have had the opportunity to struggle a lot, and you'll have a lot more knowledge. And don't fear every other student. And also, again, I will also monitor the discussions inside the course. That's normally for students. Oh, Jenna, formatting the menu. Thank you, Chris.
It was actually for the two, not the ASP class.
Okay.
It was for like, because when I run it, you know how the first one is like 0.00001 or 0.001. When I run that, I get like different output. If I run the 10, you know how the output of that is this big long number. So if I format it to be like, 4 spaces, then I don't get that number correct. But if I don't format at all, that 0, 1 is like, it's not 0. The answer is not 0001. It's like this huge number that's like 0001 0000000, which I don't, that's not the correct output. But
Here's what's funny. I've taught that particular class, and I've had that particular assignment in the course, I think for like 8 years. You are the first person that has ever brought that up, and it is an absolute correct diagnosis that it isn't correct. So I need to get rid of 3.16 blah 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 whatever, and just drop it to 4 decimal places.
okay, so there's no way, like, I was thinking maybe I need to like overload it, but I can't overload it because when I take the information, it's going to be a decimal or it's going to be whatever I make it. So it won't know. Like, I don't know. That's what I thought I had to do. So, okay.
And
Yay.
here's what's crazy. I don't know why I didn't apply that. And when students submit it, they either submit it with a format of like insane numbers, or they just format the pi to 4. And I never realized that I had that discrepancy in the assignment itself. So I'll fix that today.
Is there a preference of what do you have a preference? Because I mean, that's the only thing I
4.
have to do. Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Sorry.
That's it.
4. Cool.
Thank you.
No problem. Anybody else? Nope. Okay. By the way, get excited about it. It is by far, in my opinion, the most enjoyable class you will have in terms of, that I don't care what you do ever, putting a roof on your house, mowing your yard, just looking at it after you're done, you get that really nice sense of accomplishment. This is a big sense of accomplishment. And it's also what you're going to do in the real world. It's what you're going to make. We in the industry pay 6-figure incomes for a reason, because it's difficult, right? But this is going to be what you do 90% of your career, just some iteration of it over and over and over again, if you're a C# developer. So. Okay. Bye, everyone. Thanks, Don. Or I'm sorry, Barbara.